Welcome to Breakdown to Breakthrough. I'm Jaynie Morris, and it is my absolute pleasure to have your company on this, our very first episode in our very brand new series. Breakdown to Breakthrough has come about as a direct result of a lot of feedback we've been getting from all of you in regards to our other podcast series. And you've been inspired by the people that we've had on those series. However, I have heard what you've said, and yes, a lot of them have been women over 50. So we've decided just to open up the floodgates and have absolutely everybody that we come across and bring them on to Breakdown to Breakthrough, because our guests will always have stories that might contain ideas or tips or light bulb moments that hopefully are going to inspire you in your life. Because you know what? Life is peppered throughout with breakdowns. You've got the breakdowns that you have in jobs, finances, health, relationships, and of course the big one, marriage as well. But every time there is a breakdown, we know that there is a breakthrough. And so that's what we need to remember. And that's why we've started this new podcast. So before I get on to anything else about where you can share this podcast, because I know you're going to want to, and I know you're going to want to like it and comment and ask questions, I'm going to jump right on in with our very first guest. Now, I met this amazing woman. I actually stalked her for a while. She doesn't know that, so I'm going to throw that one in. I stalked her for a while because I actually got inspired by what she does from afar, like so many of us do. You know, social media has the ability to do that with us. We see things popping up with other friends on their social media, and you go, hey, that person looks pretty interesting. I want to stalk them for a while and see what it is about their life that has piqued my interest. Well, Anna Liptak absolutely piqued my interest when I found out that she was not only somebody who was very passionate about health and fitness, but I also found out that she has run over 25 marathons, at least 50 half marathons. She has her own travel company called AdventureTime Travel. She has her own fitness business, His&Her Time, Health and Fitness. So she's obviously a fitness professional. She's trained thousands of people around the world. And she's a speaker. She's only 47. She's a mum of two. And when I discovered that she did all of this, I thought, my gosh, does she sleep? And then I found out that she was a filmmaker. And that's why I've invited her to be my very first guest on Breakdown to Breakthrough. Anna, welcome.
Hello, Jaynie. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for having me today. I'm very humbled that you have been stalking me. Thank you.
Look, you're more than welcome. And before we get into what I just alluded to then about your latest passion in life, which is filmmaking, I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience a little bit about Anna. Give us a little bit of an idea of your life and a bit of background.
Sure. So as you said, I'm a fitness trainer and have been for 15 years. I was in marketing before, and when I had my second baby, I'd put on quite a bit of weight. And my husband, not that he was saying this because of my weight, but I've always been interested in health and fitness. And he said to me, why don't you get out and do something that you love, which is fitness. I was a little bit dismayed at first because I was, you know, a marketing executive and working around Australia, and I looked at him and said, I can't work in a gym for $20 an hour. What are you saying? But what he was doing, he was actually giving me an out. So my first baby, I breastfed for almost 3 years. And that was quite a lot. He was quite attached to me. So when my second baby arrived, I saw it as a bit of a gift that my husband was giving me, that he was giving me 2 nights out a week where he was taking over the household duties of feeding and being with the kids. And I could go and study something that I really wanted to study, which was fitness. So when I went along to this course, I didn't realize it was a life-changing moment, but I was carrying quite a bit of weight, and they did comment on my weight at that stage. And they sort of put me up in front of these beautiful wannabe fitness trainers who were quite a bit younger than me at that stage, and showed everyone why I was carrying weight because I was breastfeeding. And it was a little bit humiliating, really. So in that moment, I decided that I was going to get fit, really fit over those 9 months, and show all of those people in the room that I too was fit, even though I was a mum. So on those breaks, I would take a run around while they had their coffees, but I had to use every moment I had to get to the goal that I wanted. So over those 9 months, I did get my fitness back, and then at the end, I really felt like I wanted to work with women who too felt as vulnerable as I felt. I also got jeered at by a man when I was trying to run outside. And, you know, if I hadn't known I was fit at that stage, I would have gone indoors and never come out again and never exercised. And probably I wouldn't have gone to a gym. But I knew within myself I was fit. So I wanted to empower other women. So I started a little business, not knowing I was starting a business. And I sent out a little flyer for women at that time. So I called it Her Time. And I had 40 women signed up in 4 weeks, and within 8 weeks I had 80. So there was obviously a need for it. And it literally was her time. It was the hour that you could get out, get your exercise done, come back, and then you felt good about yourself. Your husband felt good because you felt better. And it started changing people's lives. And it changed people's lives so much that the husbands got jealous and I had to start His and Her Time. So Jaynie, what happened from there is that I realized that people, if they set goals for themselves and had purpose, motivation, and they had the drive to get out, I then started my other business, which was AdventureTime Travel, which you talked about. And that was taking people around to participate in events that they didn't think possible. So that then started in 2009, and we took teams to Vanuatu, and we've been all around the world to New York, Paris, Boston, all sorts of places. And most people say to me, I wouldn't have never have thought I could do that if you didn't believe in me. But because you believed in me, I believed in me, and that's why I could do it. So I'm really passionate about empowering people, giving them my belief, assisting them to get to their goals. Jaynie, I'm also a runner, and as you said, I've run 28 marathons. But at a stage there, I was running quite fast, and I had to make a decision whether I carry on doing my own or I continue training people. But I get my enjoyment from training people, so I continued along that path. So that's me.
Well, that's a lot. but I do love how every little moment in what you just shared with us led on to something else, and whether you realized it at the time or not. And I think that that's a really important point for people to take away as well, that sometimes when we start things, or that we are at perhaps a low point, a lower point in an area of our life, and so we decide to start making some changes, that even though those changes might not happen straight away, other things start to happen to open up, and then it leads you on to something else. So not be attached to the outcome so much, but be more openly receptive to what that might bring.
I totally agree with you. I think this is a great name for a program that you've brought about, because I actually think rainbows are actually brought about by our worst times. And if we didn't have those bad times, we really wouldn't know the good times when we had them. So, you know, we've all had those bad times, and I actually see them as a really an opportune time for me to learn and then share that with other people. So, you know, there's been a number of times in my life where I've gone to my lowest point, and that could be at different things, personally or physically or mentally. But I always see it as an opportunity to learn and then to share. So yeah, I think you're spot on with what you're talking about, Jaynie.
Yeah, the gold is in the contrast, that's for sure. Now, Anna, you have recently launched and embarked on another aspect, or another, let's look at you like a helicopter looking down. Okay, there's Anna, and then there's all these other things going on that are sort of just branching out. So everything that you've shared with us has led you to become a filmmaker. And I have to tell our audience now, I have had the absolute privilege of seeing your first entree into filmmaking. And it was a life-changing moment. I'll share that with everybody in a moment. However, I'm Not a Runner is your first movie. And I'm going to say first because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a few more. And it's an incredible story where you've taken 5 women and you've taken them to what I think is their breakdown moments, having seen the movie, and I'm not going to give the movie away, obviously, to massive breakthrough. Can you tell us, first of all, what made you want to make this movie? I know you've done it with, you've collaborated with some amazing people. You might want to share who they are as well. But I just wanted to, like, how did this start? How did this come about?
Well, as I said, I've trained people for 15 years and I've seen the transformations that happen to people when they change their lifestyle. And I've seen it time and time and time again. And you see, I basically see it like someone turning into a butterfly, and it catapults into all aspects of their life once they get fit and healthy and they're working towards a goal. I've come from an elite family of athletes. So one of my brothers is an AFL footballer. I've got an Australian kayaker. I've got an Australian runner. So the benchmark in our family for sport was very high. I was the youngest of 4 children, and my dad at that stage was really the push behind the kids, all of us in sport. I was probably the most athletic in the family for sport, and it was predicted that I'd be in the 1996 Olympics. But I didn't have any coaches or training because my mum said to my dad, "You've ruined the boys, you're not ruining Anna." And she really encouraged me to be in sport, into music and drama, and have a bit more of a overall approach. Now, over the years, I've been a bit disgruntled about that because I feel like I didn't reach my potential or wasn't given the opportunity. But in retrospect, what my mum taught me was that I was wonderful without having to be elite. And it's been a really beautiful light bulb moment for me over these past few weeks, because it's actually really an important aspect of my life that normal people and ordinary people can be wonderful too. And so I really wanted to show in this movie, you don't have to be elite. You don't have to be the best. You can come 50,000th, which some of them do in the movie, and still achieve wondrous, amazing things and accomplishments, and people will celebrate you. So there's so much fear in our life about trying and not going up against goals because we're all afraid of failing. So people will say to me in my life, I've run 28 marathons. I've still got people who say to me, "Oh, you're not a runner. What are you doing? You know, you're being ridiculous." Well, I don't want to listen to those people, and I don't want anyone else to listen to those people, because those naysayers are just trying to bring you down and make you not feel really good and set you up for not trying anymore. I want people to know that we're a voice, and the movie I see is a voice for the ordinary person. I walked out of a movie, Jaynie, 4 years ago, and it was a fantastic movie. It was about elite athletes and it was beautiful and wonderful. But I walked out and I was a bit dismayed because it was so far from the normal person. And I include myself in the normal person, but I'd run over 20 marathons at that stage, but it was still totally unattainable for me. And I walked out and thought, wouldn't it be great to watch a movie about ordinary people, something that we can all relate to, something that will motivate and inspire others to get off the couch, because health and exercise is really important. And so that year we're taking 60 people over to the New York Marathon through AdventureTime travel, and my business His&Her time. They were actually, most of them were coming through that business. And I really thought, well, this is the great opportunity to document people. And at that stage, I didn't have any idea of how I was going to do it. But a friend of mine, James Wakeland, who was working in Channel 9 at the time, I said to him, I told him my ideas, and he said, "Fantastic, I think it's a wonderful idea. Come and see me tomorrow." So then we came up with a plan, and we rang all the people that were coming to New York with me and said, would anyone be keen to document their journey? Now, these were very brave people that put their hand up, because quite a few of them had never run more than 20 meters, 400 meters. So to be saying, one, that they're going to run a marathon, and then two, that they document it on through a video, is actually very brave and very, very vulnerable, because none of us want to fail. So we had about 15 people document it, and unfortunately we couldn't tell the story of everybody. It would have been really nice, but we only had 52 minutes. So that's how we did it, Jaynie, and that's the motivation behind it.
It's It's an absolutely incredible movie. It's, as you say, you've documented these 5 individuals, and each one of them comes from a different walk of life, is a different age. And I must say, and now I can share with the audience, and Margaret, your mum, did this with you as well, and you've already mentioned how she probably inspired you with the decisions that were made earlier in your life without you realizing it. Mums usually have a tendency to do that. I think we know. Hopefully our kids will say the same.
One day.
But one of the things that inspired me in regards to the movie is that, and what you said before, I mean, you don't have to be an elite athlete to do a marathon. You actually don't have to be elite in anything you want to do in life. And I think that that's a really important message, a great takeaway from your movie as well. Margaret and I are in the sort of same age groups. And so she's inspired me, because I would never ever have considered of doing a half marathon, let alone a full marathon. And watching your mum go through the way that she did, and with the vulnerability, and all of the amazing people you have in this movie, the vulnerability of their moments throughout the journey leading up to the actual marathon, took us with them. And also, I think, and this is where the emotional side came in for me personally watching the movie, it also it wrapped my heart up and infused it with the fact that I felt like them as well. So it's an incredible movie, and it has those amazing takeaways that aren't, as I say, aren't necessarily because it's about the New York Marathon, and people going through that journey. What was your hope when you first started putting this together, Anna, for the movie?
Well, that it would be raw and it would be real, and it would be, like you said, these natural people that everybody can relate to. So what I really installed in the people, the cast, is that we were just a voice. So people like you could see yourself in them. I don't see myself up on that screen. I just see us as a voice for the everyday person. And I don't see it particularly just about running. Like you said, I think it can be put over to any part of your life, that, we've got a short time here, take risks. You can do anything if you want to do it. You just got to find the support around you, get rid of all the naysayers from around your life, and you can do anything if you've got the determination and motivation.
Now, you actually filmed this before COVID. So you were very fortunate in regards to that. And of course, we now live in a very different world, completely different world. Anna, you yourself have been personally affected by COVID. Would you like to share that with our audience?
Yeah, so I guess I had to walk the talk of everything that I'd talked to all of the people I trained for so many years about, that you have to get around obstacles and challenges. And I did get COVID, Jaynie. I was one of the first people here in South Australia. So it was really scary at that time, because no one really knew the effect or what it was about. I just got rushed off to hospital and locked in a room, basically. And they found that I had double pneumonia. And the first sort of knowledge I had was that I was on the critical aspect of it, because I had double pneumonia. And so that was very scary, because, as you said, I've got 2 kids at home. And I was really worried about if we had spread it anywhere. It took me to be quite persistent. They wouldn't actually test me at that stage, because it was only international people they were testing. And so it took 4 times of me going back and saying, look, I know I'm sick. So I luckily didn't go, because I couldn't even drive, but I didn't go in a taxi. I didn't let my mum drive me. I didn't let my husband, I basically quarantined myself. But my other son, one of my sons, got it as well. So it escalated pretty quick. I think the scariest thing for me about it, Jaynie, because at the time I thought, and I'm doing what this show is about. I was thinking, right, this is a lesson for me, and this is something I can learn. It's a challenge for me. I'm going to have to get my fitness back and health, and I've got to walk the talk now. I really trusted in my body, because I eat well. I don't really drink. I do everything well for it. So I never thought that there was never a inkling in me that I was going to die at all. So I trusted in my body, but since for 18 months now, I've lost the trust in my body. I've struggled with chronic fatigue. And for the last 18 months, I probably spent 2020 in bed, to tell you the truth. I lost one of my businesses, AdventureTime Travel, because we can't take people overseas. His&Her time, well, luckily I've got a very loyal base there, because they sort of shifted with me not working online and all sorts of things. So it's been a tremendous, I can't even say the word, but a pretty traumatic time for myself. But I've had to hold it together for my family. My son was going into year 12 this year, and I really wanted a nice base for him. So it has tested me in lots of ways, but I've seen it as a challenge that I've risen to, and I'm still fighting. I'm still working with my body to find the balance, because if I run too far or too fast, I find myself back in bed. I'm being tested for a few different things at the moment, but I'm very thankful that I think if you didn't have access to, one of my brothers is a doctor, he can refer me quite easily. If you didn't have that referral base here in Australia at the moment, it would be pretty hard, lonely journey of COVID. So my lungs are scarred, my heart's scarred. They can't tell me whether it's to do with COVID, but they can't see why I would have it otherwise. So, you know, it's, for me, it was more than just a cold, and it's whether it's psychosomatic or not, Jaynie, that's been a really real struggle. And I think, you know, again, going back to the movie, I'm Not a Runner, quite a few of the girls struggle with mental health and see exercise as a way out. That's the same with me for COVID. I need to move, or I can get pretty down, or I can go back to bed. So, you know, there's that fine line of finding that, but knowing that exercise makes me feel good, and good food.
Thank you for sharing that. I know it's a very personal situation for you, and certainly the initial outcome of it is, as you told us there, is quite significant as well. So, you know, on behalf of all of us, I wish for you very speedy full recovery to health as well, because but your determination and you touched then on mental health as well. Mental exercise definitely is a really strong part of your toolkit for good mental health, and you've got that in buckets as well. So, which is
try,
which is fantastic. Now, I'm not a runner. It's been screened. I've just heard that it is going to be screened. Is this correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going to be screened for all of the runners at the next New York Marathon. Is that in 2022?
So yeah, you're right there, Jaynie. It's going across in 2021. So in a couple of weeks, they're having a New York premiere at the Australian consulate over there, and they are sending it out to all the runners in their virtual goodie bag, and they get it at a discount because it is being streamed now. And because of the success it had here at Wallace, Mitcham, it was one of their highest selling movies here for the last 2 weeks. So they're putting it on at Wallace Mount Barker. Right. And we have just heard also that SBS will be airing it nationally as well around Australia on November the 6th at 4:30 our time.
That's fantastic news. That's excellent. Now, our audience is international. So if somebody who is tuning in and with us right now is international, how can they access this movie, Anna?
The best way to do it, Jaynie, is probably through the website imnotarunner.com.au, and we have the links and we have the screening because we have got an international distributor, so it might go on screens around the world in different places in the next couple of months too. So just to keep up to date on the imnotarunner.com.au website.
Fantastic. And those details, as well as all of the contact details for you, for those of you listening right now, below in the copy that comes along with this podcast on whatever your favorite app is that you're listening to us at the moment. It might be iTunes, might be Spotify, could be Apple, or you could be getting this podcast straight off of our website at www.jayniemorris.com. All of those details are there. Anna, my final question to you, and everybody knows that I ask this question, but I'm putting you on the spot because I don't think you've been told I always ask this question.
Right.
But I do it with all of my podcast series. And so I'm not going to change, even though my team have said, come on, Jaynie, come up with a different question. If you had an 8-year-old Anna in front of you right now, what advice would you give to her?
Run with your passion, do what you love, don't let anyone tell you can't, and don't let anyone get in your way, and go for it.
That sounds like a great preemptive to your movie, I'm Not a Runner. Thank you so much for that, Anna. We really appreciate you being our very first guest on our new podcast series, Breakdown to Breakthrough, and being so open and honest about your life and your journey, and certainly your new entree into the filmmaking world. We're looking forward to seeing what comes up. Any other things in the pipeline there?
Well, ask me that, but you know, we're still trying to get through this one, Jaynie. But you know, I wouldn't mind trying surfing. I'm not a surfer, no, not really. But but I think it's wonderful, and thank you for having me on your first episode. I think Breakdown to Breakthrough is incredible, and I think it's a really relevant, particularly in these day and times for people. So thanks, Jaynie.
No, you're more than welcome. And if people want to get in contact with you directly, we've already said about the website for the movie, I'm not a runner.com.au. Have you got a website for yourself that people could contact?
Yeah, www.annaliptak.com.
Wonderful. Okay, as I mentioned before, all those details are below this podcast. But for now, Anna, thank you so much for being our guest. We really appreciate it. And thank you for tuning into our very first episode of Breakdown to Breakthrough. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, make sure that you subscribe and also put it into your favorites so you never miss an episode, because we've got some incredible guests, just like you've heard now today with Anna. We've got some amazing guests from all around the world whose stories may contain the ideas, tips and light bulb moments that will inspire you, or could inspire you, wherever you are in your life right now. I'm Jaynie Morris. All the details are also at our website, www.jayniemorris.com. And wherever you are in this amazing, beautiful world of ours, I hope you have an absolutely fabulous day.